At the
5 years of
celebration moon
marriage.
banquet,
He
someone
thought
asked
it
my
was
alpha
home,
husband a question.
but it turned
Kale,
out to be
how
a
can you still
gilded
in the mood to
cage.
drink? Shouldn't
In
you be at a
Iron
funeral
Peak,
today?
I
Kyle
could
Blackhead looked
uneven get
completely
life-saving
Whose
medicine
funeral?
without.
The vault nobles in
My
the hall fell
husband
dead silent.
stay would
Your
approve it.
Luna's adoptive
It,
mother, Mayev
when
Vale.
my
She
dying
died
mother
5 days
called,
ago.
he
She
hung
was
up on
buried
me
today at
11
Silver
times
Lake.
to
You did not
celebrate
know?
that.
The silver
Elegant
cup slipped from
stewardess
Kale's hand
birthday.
and
My
smashed on the
mother
floor.
died alone.
Moonberry wine
That's
splashed
somewhere,
across
and I
his black formal
realized
coat like
even the
blood that
moon
had
shows
arrived
a
too
mate.
late. He did not
Means
know. Of course he
nothing
did
without
not know.
trust.
5 days
Today,
earlier,
I
I had
tear up
knelt
the
in the corridor
contract,
of Moonwell
since you trust
Infirmary,
her more.
pleading repeatedly
I'm
with
leaving.
Moonwell's
From
healing.
now on,
Rain ran
I'm
from my
taking
hair
back
into my
my
collar.
freedom
My
and my
Moonwell clung
pride.
coldly to my shoulders. Maeve was burning with moonrot fever. She was not a pure-blood wolf of Iron Point Pack. Only the human woman who had taken me in, raised me, and turned a mud-covered street girl into a Luna who could stand beside an alpha. The healer said a timely injection could still save her. So I requested 50,000 moon silver from the Luna treasury. Sienna Frost sent the request back with a gentle, polished smile.
Mira, Moonwell is not a charity house for outsiders. You can't just use pack resources to subsidize a bloodless woman, simply because you became Luna.
I told Sienna it was life-saving money. She asked me to resubmit proof of kinship, a treatment plan, council authorization, and the Alpha's written approval. So I called Kale. He did not answer. I called a second time, then a third. It wasn't until the 11th call that he finally cut the connection. Only later did I learn that he was comforting Sienna. That morning, I had rushed into Pack Hall to question the approval process, bringing her to tears in front of everyone. She only said one thing to Kale.
Alpha, Mira may still not be used to being Luna. She lacks discipline. I only want to help her learn the rules.
Then she took a moonstone pendant from her drawer and hung it against the inside of his wrist.
My grandmother left me this calm stone. It filters out intense emotional fluctuations. Alpha, you've been under a lot of border pressure lately. You shouldn't be bothered by the Luna's domestic frivolities.
Kale did not refuse. From that day on, the pendant hung on the chain of his communication stone, silently severing every sharp pain that should have reached him through the mate bond. So when I knelt in the rain, when my chest felt as if it were tearing apart, all he sensed was a distant, dull noise he could ignore. When the call finally connected again, he interrupted me coldly.
Listen to Sienna. She understands pack rules better than you.
Kale, please hear me out. Maeve can't hold on.
Do not use your adoptive mother to guilt-trip me. You always have a new excuse when asking for money.
The connection died. The rain was deafening. I stared at the closed gates of Moonwell Infirmary and suddenly felt that my 5 years as Luna felt like a prolonged fever dream. Outsiders believed I was Iron Peak's Luna, protected by the Alpha's mark, the Black Pine Palace, and the respect of an entire pack. In truth, I had to ask Sienna for approval before I could wear a decent dress. When I married into Iron Peak, the council issued a Luna Resource Allocation Charter. It said a Luna from outside the pack needed a steward appointed by the Alpha to review all resources during her adaptation period. Kale appointed Sienna. The adaptation period was 5 years. My mother did not survive to the end of it. Every banquet, diplomatic meeting, and pack council required me to fill out a Luna supply form. Sienna always held the approval until the last moment.
Mira, your reason is not sufficient. This cloak is too expensive. You are only accompanying the Alpha. Do not steal the spotlight. A moon carriage until 11? A Luna should know restraint.
When I arrived late, Kale would frown.
Mira, do you have no sense of time? Look at Sienna. She always knows how to keep everything orderly.
Yes, of course she did. She locked me piece by piece into procedures she had designed herself, then let Kale watch me look helpless. Until Maeve died in a hospital bed. Only then did I understand. This mate bond was never shelter. It was a cage. That day, the rain gradually faded. I stood beside my mother's cold hospital bed and held the hand that had already gone still. Her last words were not, "I love you." They were, "I'm sorry." She said she had failed to protect me, failed to see his true colors before I married him, failed to carry me out of that palace one more time. She did not know that she had already saved me, not because she had lived 3 more days in the infirmary, but because she had shown me the truth. The place I thought was home had never treated me as family. I pressed my face into her palm and wept silently for a very long time. Then I wiped my eyes and asked Kale for severance. He replied with only 3 words.
Stop being ridiculous.
At that moment, I remembered the first rainy night after I married him. He had wrapped a cloak around me with his own hands, led me through the black pine path, and told me Iron Peak would be my home. He said the Alpha's mark would protect me. He said no one would ever make me lower my head again. I had believed him, so I learned pack etiquette, Moon Hall banquet rules, and the ancient family's convoluted titles and subtext. The first time Sienna smiled as she returned my dress application, I simply thought I wasn't familiar enough with the procedure. The second time, she made me wait 3 hours in a downpour just to get a temporary silver pass into Pack Hall. Even then, I told myself that as a newly appointed Luna, I really did need to tread more carefully. Then I discovered all those rules were strict only for me. The ladies of the Beta families could take carriages and jewelry whenever they pleased. The council wives could summon Moonwell's private healers at will. Yet I, the Luna personally marked by the Alpha, had to wait at Sienna's desk just to get an approval signature for a bottle of painkillers for my adoptive mother. Sienna was not teaching me manners. She was showing Iron Peak that its Luna had no real power. Ironically, Kale saw it. He simply thought that was best, because a Luna trapped by procedures is the quietest, the most obedient, and the least likely to cause him any trouble. When he spoke to me in his study, his eyes never left the patrol map in his hands. Border rogue activity, winter hunting grounds, Pack Council resource allocation, and everything was more important than Nice. I stood there with my rain-soaked skirt sticking to my calves.
I mean it. I want to sever the mate bond.
Kale finally set the map down and looked at me. His expression was not concern. It was impatience.
Your mother's treatment pause was temporarily held by Sienna, according to the charter. I have already had her treatment access restored. I already signed it yesterday. Mira, my patience is limited. Stop using this method to compete for attention.
Restored the treatment permission. He said it so lightly, as if my mother could rise from her coffin and thank him for his late mercy. I looked at him and suddenly laughed.
Kale, she is dead.
His brows tightened.
I know you are angry, but do not joke about death like that.
I stopped explaining. I had explained too many times. I had told him Sienna locked my clothes, food, travel, and medical needs inside the Luna Ledger. He said it was to help me learn pack etiquette. I had told him Sienna released approvals at the last second, so I would embarrass myself. He told me to reflect on why I was never prepared. I had told him Sienna was full of malice towards my adoptive mother. He said Sienna came from a Beta family and wouldn't be as petty as I was. In his eyes, I was still the poor girl Maya had picked up from the streets. Even after becoming his fated mate, I was still someone who needed to be disciplined, molded, and reminded she did not deserve too much. And I was truly tired. After leaving the study, I saw at Sienna had posted a public update. She stood beside it, Kale, wrapped in the silver-gray shawl that should have belonged to the Luna. The caption was short.
Thank you for the Alpha's trust. Guarding Iron Rex order is my honor.
I looked at the photo and calmly gave it a like. Minutes later, Kale messaged me.
Sienna only performed well at work. I rewarded her on behalf of the pack. Do not overthink it.
Then another message arrived.
Since you left a like, drop a comment. Do not let people think you are jealous.
I had not planned to answer, but in that moment I felt sick, so I commented under Sienna's post.
Indeed, very responsible. You held back the Luna's medical funds, dragged out the process until her adoptive mother died, and still made the procedure airtight. Iron Peak is blessed to have you. Please keep guarding the Luna treasury. Every moon silver coin you save today may become your own wealth tomorrow.
After posting, I started packing. There was hardly anything to pack. In the Alpha and Luna's main residence, almost nothing truly belonged to me. An old raincoat, a research notebook, a copper ring Maiev had left me. That was all. I took one last look at this room I had lived in for 5 years. On the wall hung our bonding portrait. The girl in the silver-white gown still looked naive enough to believe in the future. That gown had later been locked away. Sienna said it was too grand and would give a young Luna unnecessary vanity. She even confiscated the old blanket my mother gave me, saying such cheap items didn't belong in the main residence. That was the blanket Maeve had stayed up late knitting for me. I fought with Sienna over it once. Kyle only said one thing.
She's just trying to maintain the image of the estate.
After that, I never kept anything of my own in this room again, because I finally understood that in this place, the real me wasn't allowed to exist. Only an empty shell of a Luna that fit their perfect image. I pulled a heavily folded piece of paper from the bottom drawer of the nightstand. Maiev had written it a week before she passed. The handwriting was shaky.
If this house ever stops feeling like home, come back. Wherever Mom is, that's your home.
She was already running a low fever by then, her hand trembling violently as she held the pen. I had smiled that day, folded the note, and told her she was worrying for nothing. I thought I could still protect her. I thought the title of Luna could buy at least a single vial of serum. I pressed the note to my chest and sat in dead silence for a long, long time. Outside, the moonlight slanted down from the spires of the estate, like a blade that was 5 days too late. Kale returned quickly. Whenever Sienna was involved, he was always on time. He strode into the bedroom with a dark expression.
Mira, since when did you become such a bitter woman?
I zipped my bag.
When you made me apply to another woman for the money that could save my mother.
He looked as if he had heard something absurd.
You are still talking about that. What was wrong with Sienna following procedure?
I dumped the bag onto the floor. Only the old raincoat and a few wrinkled notebooks fell out.
Take a good look. This is the superior life you say an Alpha gives his Luna? I had to fill out a form just to buy a dress, to step outside, even to get treatment for my dying mother. The manager of Iron Peak Stables lives with more freedom than I do.
There was no guilt on Kale's face. Only confusion.
Because of these things?
In that instant, I understood that every word I said had fallen on deaf ears. It was not that he did not understand. He simply believed I should not rebel over things he considered small. I lowered my eyes.
Contact the Pack Tribunal. I am applying for bond severance.